Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto, and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. One last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by 10th Man, Neil, Refracted Curvature, Chocolate Sane, Brian's Logic, Arwin, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Vinny, get the bats, Vinny.
Hello, hello. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Good morning.
Have to make a, what's the word? It's not a retraction, but it's a mild change of direction. Grit my teeth while I say this. So in my humble opinion, the flow of money in this show should be one direction, my direction, from YouTube. And unfortunately, Google, YouTube, however you want to bundle them together, have forced me to pay for Google Meet. So it's only $8, but it really, really grinds my gears to have to give them money. It's like giving your boss money. Not that they're my boss, but they are, kind of. But could you imagine you go to get your paycheck and your boss pickpockets you for a few quid? That's how it feels. I just wanted to get that out of my system.
Don't worry about it, Nathan. It's only the new company store policy.
Yep. You'll be paying us for the milk in your coffee. Anyway, right, I just want to get that out of the way. Moan about it. It's not like it's even a big deal. The amount of people, from one perspective, I shouldn't say it because the amount of contributions I get massively exceeds that small amount of money I'm having to give to Google. It's not really about the amount of money. Yeah, it's not going to cripple me. Although I am very poor. Please smash the super chat. It's more about the principle of giving the money back. You know, putting it that way in the river. Anyway, any evidence of Earth curve?
Just think about it like you're one of the poor schmoes that have to put gas in your car to actually get to work. You know, sometimes you got to spend money to make money. That's, you know, think of it like that.
It's just one of those things I like to be able to say. So occasionally people will say, you've only got 24,000 subscribers because you've bought them all. And I go, no, that river only flows one way. Yeah, I'm not going to be paying out for that. I want the people who come and watch my adverts and support me. That's what it's for. It's not so I can pay a third party. Certainly not pay Google. So when you are, you're like, I can't really make that statement anymore because this river doesn't flow one way. The $8 of it's going back the other way up the river. Anyway, it's such a small point to moan about.
You got 24,000 subscribers with an act of Congress going against you. Well done.
Oh, thank you. That does make me feel
Should be a million.
Better. It should. But I will mention that just to round this out, just so it is a point in regards to subscriptions. If you haven't subscribed already, is to say, don't subscribe to me on more than one account because it ballses up my statistics. Now, don't get me wrong, if you've got 2 active accounts, like I've got 2 active channels and I've got different subscriptions on both, but I actively use both to both broadcast and watch, depending on the circumstances. So typically I'll use my second channel to view on my iPhone because that's the one that's logged into it, which makes it a more sort of when I'm out and about and I want to watch something on YouTube. You know, if you're doing something and you've got an hour to kill, you might want to watch a video, but I tend to pick from my second lot of subscriptions. That's fine. But what I don't want is people to go, oh, look, he's at 24,999. I'll just go to my other account or make a new account to subscribe to him. Don't do that because it's pointless. You know, I only want engagement from people who subscribe. So subscribe if you've not done so already in the intro. That's the reason for that. Anyway, I'm going off the beaten track before we've even done housekeeping. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge horizon, formerly known as the curve of the Earth?
No,
Yeah.
next.
Yeah, 24,000 subscribers.
Well, if it's formally known, doesn't that mean it's now gone?
Nobody
do you
claims
mean?
nobody claims the horizon is Earth curve. End quote. Tim Osman. Nobody's claiming we'll see physical geometry. End quote. Planar Walk. Nobody's claiming the horizon is geometric. End quote. AB Science. The geometric horizon only exists in the maths. End quote. The rumpus. So yeah, formerly known as Earth curve.
The geometric horizon is not the horizon you would expect to see. End quote. Kosho.
FYI, the geometric horizon's Earth curve.
So the people who believe in the globe don't want us to bring this part of the globe up because they can't defend it?
Well, that's globe heretics that can't defend it and will tell us that you and your reference frames are ruined in regards to the next housekeeping question. Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
Wait a second. Didn't Chocolate read something where a lady said it all starts at the horizon?
For a globe
Isn't the
believer,
horizon
it
Earth
does.
curve?
I was going to
Yes.
ask if they don't expect to see the geometric horizon, then why did they still bring back the story of boats going over it?
Because they were in pain, cognitive dissonance. Their actual claim has
Can I
been
ask a question
debunked.
to the panel?
Go ahead.
Wasn't all of this debunked by Einstein in 1915?
Yeah, I was explaining that to my wife yesterday. And yes, that's correct. She was asking the importance of the ether discussion.
Once the gravity is not a force anymore, I mean, the whole model implodes. You don't have spheres, you don't have mass attracting mass, you don't have center of mass, you have nothing of that.
That's right, and I think they figured that out 100 years ago. And as a consequence, they've started telling people about parallel universes and such like. Eventually, it's got to go back to flat because it is. Hey, Arthur.
What were you explaining to your wife?
The importance of the discussion in regards to the consequences with Einstein 100 years ago. So she's like, well, she's overheard me saying this is an important subject. I'm like, well, here's where the crossover takes place with Einsteinian mathematics and bending space-time. Anyway, let's get through housekeeping. We can expand this out shortly. Hey, Arthur, by the way.
Hey, hello.
Good to have you. So, axial rotation, any evidence thereof?
We're going to need
No.
R for that.
Don't expect to see any.
That's right, Jorge, you'll need R for that. Any evidence of the R value?
Saturn
No,
radius?
Maxwell disproved it.
It can only be derived from the celestial angles on a flat plane.
You are friendly, Flurf and Turf?
I am.
Good to have you. What about
Hold on,
Eels?
Nathan. You got to be careful when you ask that question now, because they could be a friendly, but not a friendly.
Well, when you have a name like Flurf and Turf, you're a pretty good sod.
No. I believe in the flat Earth,
Very good.
100%.
Don't make you a friendly. That's what Neil's
Exactly.
saying.
You could come and say ether exists.
Anyway,
Pardon me?
Eels,
Is it
Eels-
really? Is
Oh,
it
one
a
second.
point of I agree the Earth is flat?
No, I don't agree. I believe it. I live by one of the Great Lakes. All you see is flat horizon everywhere.
How did you just phrase
Well,
that? I don't agree. I believe it. Did you say?
Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah, I don't
My
like
own
that
eyes.
belief thing.
Oh, we're going to nitpick you to death now.
Yeah, I know. What's going on? Eels G, how you doing? You a friendly?
Yes, he is. Hey,
Okay.
Elise.
Any
Well,
evidence?
the only reason I bring it up, and it is pedantic, but belief is agree, disagree.
Do you know the Earth is flat?
I don't know why they're
Okay,
doing
guys,
this to you.
take-
I don't know why they're
take
nitpicking you and negging you like this, Flurf and Turf. I don't know, but feel free to respond if you want to.
I don't know why they're
I'm a
doing it.
grown man.
Oh, they're not really coming through, Nathan. They're breaking up.
Yeah, I'm trying to stop them from talking constantly when I'm trying to, talk to the guy in Discord, but none of them will leave a gap. So I'm having to cut them off.
I'm trying to defend the guy here.
He's not.
It's okay.
He's there. He's here. He doesn't need you to talk for him. All of you, 4 people have talked for him. So far, he's got 3
I'm not
words. I'm
talking
a grown
for
man
him.
out.
I'm not talking for him. I'm talking against Neil.
Okay.
Hold on. All I'm trying to say is you could say you're a friendly and then all of a sudden you're throwing ether at us. That's all I meant. Forget me.
It's hard
I'm
to.
just here to listen to everybody.
Okay,
I
great.
like to gather information.
Oh, you're here for intel? Oh, yeah. For who?
I'm always here for intel. Intel's always the best.
I'm just joking. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
It's over there.
93 million miles away.
Who's 3
You'll need
million
half of
miles
that.
away? Not
Hold
the
on, you'll
sun.
need half of
How
that.
did you come to that conclusion? Did you measure it? Or did you calculate it? Or did you just read a number that was handed to you?
I was taught it in school, okay? Just like they taught me 2 + 2 is 4, they taught me that the sun was 93. Well, back then it was 91 million miles away. So maybe we moved away 2 million miles.
Wasn't it like in the
Right, so
60s?
you were
it was
handed
like
a number
68
then.
miles a million?
Say again, Flurf and Turf.
Wasn't it like 68 million miles back in like the early 1900s?
Right. Jaron did a really good expose on this. It's changed multiple times. At the moment, the scaling value is derived from Venus being assumed to have the same radius value as Earth is assumed to have, and then the scaling values are taken from there. But it's just a scale, so you can increase it, decrease it, whatever you like. Give a double radius value, or 2x the radius value of Earth, when you superimpose it on Venus, and you've changed all of those values. But they'll all slide up and down incrementally. So yeah, you can change it to whatever you like, within reason.
Nathan, quick question. This is just off topic entirely, but are you I'm trying to figure out where your accent's from. You're English, but what part of England you from?
I'm from Birmingham originally. However,
Oh.
I went and trained as an actor in Stratford upon Avon. Therefore, I'm a bit less brummy.
From Birmingham, you sound reasonably calm and not screaming every so often.
Are you joking? You taking the mic?
The show's still early.
Yeah.
Have you ever been there?
You seem composed comparatively from every Birmingham person I've met.
That is
who
not a
seems to have
compliment. You're comparatively composed compared to a brummie is not a compliment.
Well, whatever. Take as you wish.
I will. I'm only messing with you. Thank you.
I know.
Isn't that like being the smartest kid in special ed?
Yeah,
Is that the kind of compliment
Yeah,
that
there you
was?
Nathan, he's just giving you a scaling value. That's all.
That's it.
But yeah, no, I just heard your accent and I was like, where the hell are you from? Because I like doing that with people.
Leamington Spa currently. They're quite posh around here as well, actually.
The posh lot. Only way is he sound like that was like only way is Essex type thing going on, which it was. Anyway, cheers.
Trained actor and a bit of a private school education. That's why. Anyway, any scientific evidence of gravity?
What is it?
I feign no hypothesis.
I'll be a
Says
no
the
then.
guy.
And Einstein
Yeah.
too. I mean, did Einstein claim a hypothesis?
Not flame.
I don't think so.
Feign. Feign.
Oh, okay.
No, he did not.
But still,
No.
exactly.
I mean, he's got what he calls his theory, but that's only a hijacking of the idea of science. It's not actually got any science to back it. It's not a scientific theory. It's maths.
Right. Mathematical theory, whatever that means.
In either event, there's no cause and effect relationships established in physical nature. Or any viable hypotheses whatsoever from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics.
They're going to need R for that.
They feign no hypothesis.
Well, I need R for it if they did. Any evidence you can acquire an elevation angle measurement from a curved baseline?
Well, ask
Negative.
Mattoon.
Without a horizontal plane, you cannot have an elevation angle.
Nathan, did anyone ever from the baller side or heliocentric side ever answer the question of what they're applying the Habersign formula to?
No. Do you want to ask that question again? We might slip that into housekeeping. I kind of brushed past it after you suggested it on that show. Ask the question.
Well, we've got the needing, straight lines to get an angle. Elevation angle is utilizing a baseline. What do, since the Habersign formula is a transformative equation, what are you applying that equation to and why?
Or
if you're a heliocentrist.
Or what is it being transformed to a globe from? Furthermore, if the Earth is a sphere, why would you need to apply a transformative equation to make it spherical? You don't apply transformative equations to cubes to make them into a cube. There's no need, it's already a cube. So if Earth's already a sphere, why need a transformative equation to make it spherical?
Hey, you're just getting hung up on details.
I don't want to.
There is a question in there, though. You hear it, right?
What are you applying the Habersign formula to? I'm going to ask John. A flat plane. Right. What are they transforming from and to? From a flat plane to a sphere. Where are the measurements from? From a flat plane. The globe model's dependent on measuring a flat plane.
Yeah, and Thomas Young told us that, isn't it? All the measurements are made on a flat plane.
That's in regards to refraction, but yeah.
Yeah, my question to that would be, what flat plane? I thought we lived on a sphere. Mr. Young.
So what are you applying the Habersign formula to, globe believers?
Well, it had to start flat.
It needs to be worked on in terms of turning it into that sort of self-contained, almost rhetorical housekeeping question. They've got a certain style to them. But if you remind me, I will just put it as an open-ended question at the end of each housekeeping session for now. I mean, it needs a bit of refinement. But
and a link to a McToon's video that short made.
Yeah, certainly
Definitely.
got. I don't know how he ended up having this pegged to him. I know he was the one that was the most vocal about his challenge, but realistically, Protothad should have it attached to him. But it's ended up being McToon. Maybe it's just because he's that much louder. I don't know. Is McToon that verbal? I don't watch McToon.
We wouldn't know. They only came on the show one time to give us awards.
I don't really watch him either, but that clip was amazing. Like, amazing.
Oh, you're talking about a clip that's about 2 months old that I noticed you'd commented on. You get more suggestions of old videos when you remember which Arwin is. Become a member today. And you've obviously watched one of those clips and go, wow, a great video. Yeah, it was 2 months ago before it died on its ass like every other video I make.
Yeah, you're just too you're too busy, putting them out. And then it just you're on the road. You're just dropping all these great videos. You lose track. And then afterwards, wait, whoa, that actually happened? That's awesome.
That's mainly down to Mitch, though. I think it was Mitch that he was talking to or referring to. I can't remember. Mitch knows more about the background to it because I swiped it from him.
Was it with? Yeah, it was with him, wasn't it?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, well done.
Nathan, can you go to a Master D and show that slide I just put there?
Okay, done.
Yeah, so this is the measurement. And there's your horizontal. Now, what was the question again? Refractive curvature? On the Habersign?
Because after they take this measurement that you're having Nathan show, they apply the Haversine formula to get their spherical triangles and things of that nature. What are they applying the Haversine formula to in this depiction?
The flat plane that's being measured.
So for the audience, there's the sun. There's the vertical of the sun giving its GP over the flat plane. There's the person and his or her vertical. And there is the angle, elevation angle measurement from the flat plane or ocean surface once you get your eyes on the water. And there's your vertex. So this works. This is nice. Now, imagine a protractor with the arc. And that's what they're trying to say is you live on that arc part where the lines meet up on the protractor. But here's the problem. You see OZ? That's zenith distance. And do you see OEL? That's elevation angle. Now, that zenith distance is the same as that baseline from GP of the person to GP of the sun. It's the exact same distance on the flat plane. It's ball game over.
Yes. So when we started off this process, the first response was to have them challenge us to use their pre-acquired flat Earth elevation angles and ask us how they work on a flat Earth.
And then they moved to the flat Earth celestial sphere model to claim that Earth was a sphere from that model. So they like double stamped it.
It's only taken 100 years before this really should have happened. It should have happened the minute Einstein was debunked. That should have been the end. And instead it's been a long, drawn-out attempt to keep heliocentrism prevalent in the mind's eye of the Western world and expand it out to some of the Eastern world. Seems pretty untenable, though, at this stage. With plausible deniability, though. Oh, well, it's just a model. It's just a philosophy. It's just a way of perceiving the way the world could work. We don't actually live on a model. All of our arguments against the notion of being on a sphere, with the reification fallacy being our argumentation against it, could be used by whoever's punting it as a defence.
And I think it would be a fair defense. I don't think there's a bunch of people at the, in academia that know it's a flat plane and then they're just trying to trick people. I think that they are actually ignorant of this.
I agree.
However, given the general censorship that we experience in this little subdivided community of anti-flat earth heretics and flat earthers, it's not like they want this to trickle out to the rest of the Western world. I don't think.
But John, I could agree with you, right? But my cousin's a school teacher, and when I bring things to her, they resist. Now, I believe that that's something that, because you're so indoctrinated at such a young age, you immediately fight against anyone who challenges it.
Let's do a quick shout out to Divergent Droid for being an absolutely fantastic moderator. Like the best moderator I've had in my entire YouTube career. Shout out to you, sir. You're superb.
I second that.
Divergent Droid is ace.
He is amazing, isn't he?
Nathan, if you can follow up, I second the motion, the motion for Divergent Droid, by the way.
Not only that, they accuse him of being a robot, that he's not a real person. That's hysterical.
Yeah, he's definitely a real person.
I got
Or
two
the
more.
best human emulation has ever been made.
Yeah, especially when he came on the show. That was pretty clever. How did he become so human?
What you need is like a little surprise, because if you see his little what is it, Android, as in Google Android avatar, and see him spamming "Welcome to Flat Earth Debate" and stuff, it would be reasonable to assume that he's a like Nightbot, or I don't actually know how to use those pieces of software, but I've seen him in other people's live streams. You just turn on something called Nightbot or something like that, and then it's programmed to react to certain things that get typed in, and tell people off if they swear and such. Well, that's good, right? But also irritating. I don't necessarily like that, because damn well it's not a real person. So to have somebody that appears to be that, you're like, oh, familiar. They've got a bot in there saying hello. Oh, that's nice. But it's not a bot. It's a real guy who will rip you a new one and knows the arguments. So, yeah, shout out to you.
Nathan, just to finish up the Habersign, there's 2 more slides to follow that first one.
I'm on the one that's blue background, observer, zenith, dome.
So here you have a horizontal coordinate system. You can see it's a horizontal coordinate system. You can see the angle is an elevation angle up from the horizon there. And it's pretty clear. 2 straight lines meeting where the observer is, the vertex. You got the zenith, the vertical of the observer, and then the star would be vertically over the Earth somewhere as well. Now, get this image in your mind, and let's go to the next slide. And here we have the star vertically over the Earth, 90 degrees. The vertical of the observer in the red, 90 degrees. And then the angle measurement, which could only happen from a baseline that's straight, not curving. And they even put 90 here, even though they take liberty with their art to show a curve on that yellow arrow, which isn't happening, can't happen, but you can't get an elevation angle from a curved baseline. And then they need to somehow make this look like we live on a globe. So when you take 90, the complement angle, and 1 degree is 60 nautical miles, that leaves you that co-altitude, that zenith distance, 1,800 nautical miles is your zenith distance. So the bottom of the image where the person is to where the sun is directly over the Earth, that's 1,800 nautical miles. And you get that from that top co-altitude, the zenith distance. But if you go back 1 slide, they would have you think that's on this arc, right? And if you go back 1 more slide, the original one I showed, this is before they make you think you live on a globe.
However, all of them have got 90s, 90 degree here, 90 degree here on the first slide. Second slide, 90 degree here at the observers. Now, unfortunately, they've not drawn the GP of the star, but that's what you're trying to achieve. 90 degrees for the triangle that's being formed. Then you move over to the one that's come from a globe-believing book, and it's still marked. There it is, 90 degrees. So why is this yellowish line bending? That's not going to give you 90 degrees. Why is the co-altitude line bending? No, no, no. No, no, no. This is a square. It's got 90 degrees. It's not going to be sat on a bend. That's not going to work. It works like this, off a flat plane, with angles. That's how it works.
Can I give some bit of correction on the Habersign? What the Habersign does is it converts from the Universal Transverse Mercator map. Now, I'm going to point out a contradiction. The 10th has already been pointed out in a minute, but I don't know if it was as obvious. So what they do is they take the Universal Transverse Mercator map, because that is a grid map, but it's a grid map using latitude and longitude lines. So each one of those lines on the Universal Transverse Mercator is a latitude or longitude line. So what they're doing is they're transforming the distance that is on the Universal Transverse Mercator into its correct distance, statute mile distance, its correct distance, right, north to south along the longitude lines, because it's the longitude lines that have to change within that premise, because The latitude lines can stay pretty much where they are, I think. But the longitude lines, because all our great circle routes are longitudinal distances. Because they're all, like, you put great circle routes onto a piece of paper and you'll have straight lines, right? So what they're doing is they're making a correction, but the correction, the mathematical correction they're making for the distance, let's just say from the North United States to the South United States, that will have the R value added in, so it gives a curved distance. So that's how they go from, let's just say, a degree measurement, giving them a nautical mile measurement, to having a curve that, like, we know where to get the curve from. It's from hijacking the center of the protractor or the base of the protractor and calling it the center of that globe. But then that's how that nautical mile measurement ends up being on the curve of the globe, and it's along the longitude lines, and that's how they get to make the claim that they have the correct distances on the globe due to the Haber sign. But there's two problems. Firstly, the universal transverse Mercator. How are the actual nautical mile measurements placed onto that? That's the first thing you should find out. Because the problem is the real problem is that there's a map being used that doesn't have the land masses in the correct locations. So that's the first problem that's there. So you're taking a nautical mile measurement with degrees from, let's say, the deck of a ship with a marine sextant. You have, let's just say, a 45 degree, which will give you 2,700 nautical miles of a radius, a nautical mile distance. The horizontal distance becomes the radius of a circle of equal latitude. But how do you then place that onto the universal transverse Mercator and then transform that into a statute mile distance along the longitude lines of a globe? There's something going on in between that point from the measurement, right, which is, because their distance along the surface of their globe has to match the distance that's measured by the mariner with the sextant, because the conversion will have to be a 1.1508 conversion from nautical to statute mile. So it has to match that. So there's something going on with the universal transverse Mercator where whatever way they plot it onto that, because of the land masses being in different locations from where they really are, then supposedly, then that means that when they're changing it, that whatever it does, it mutates it for some reason. Now I don't know what way it works, how it mutates it. That's something I'll have to find out. I didn't look into that. Well, but there is a mutation going on with the universal transverse Mercator, and it's the unmutation when they unmutate that distance, but then hijack it and put it on the surface of the sphere. So they're starting off with a correct nautical mile distance, and they're ending up with a correct statute mile distance, but there's a load of nonsense happening in between. And that's how they get to make their claim along the surface of the sphere. And obviously the Haber sign formula has the R value. Could you, I don't know, but could you use the Haber sign formula and just not use the R value? I don't know. I haven't looked. That might be a stupid question.
Well, that might be a problem of the star's geometry. You know what I'm saying? But if you want, go back and watch Ruhith perform celestial navigation. He's very clear about what he does. But he's...
We lost you, John.
We lost a little bit of you, John. Can you say that again?
But the words he's using and the pictures he's showing aren't matching up, because he's using the celestial sphere model, but then he'll show the Earth flying around the sun with a red line through it, and they'll say that's what they're using, you know. But that's not. But right after he applies the Haber sign formula, then he's got circles of equal altitude on a sphere. That's where the trick is being done.
Well, technically, he doesn't have circles of equal altitude on a sphere. Let me point out something he's doing. He's starting off with 7/6R for a start. That's what he's claiming. He's claiming he's using 7/6R at the start, but he's not actually. He's using a horizontal plane. But he's claiming to use 7/6R. So let me just point out a couple of things. If he's claiming 7/6R, that means he can't use a 3959 radius when he's doing the haverside. He has to use a 4,618.83 mile radius, statute mile radius. Right. Which means 60 nautical miles per degree won't work. Yeah, 69 statute miles per degree won't work when he's claiming that. So he's destroyed his own argument with that claim at the start. But he's not using 7/6R because that he's not using. In reality, he's using a horizontal plane. Because by claiming he's using 7/6R, it means that he's saying he's not using a tangent plane. But he is using a tangent plane. They all have to use a tangent plane. It's official they use a tangent plane, and that's how they move it from the tangent plane down to the center of the globe, which is only the baseline of a protractor. It's all hijacking, backwards hijacking, and then they claim that but he can't put a distance on the surface of his globe if he's not claiming 7/6R. That's the first problem. Secondly, he's using a horizontal plane, not 7/6R. So what he claimed and what he did are two different things.
Right, but yeah, that's what I'm saying. But the Haversine formula is bending that distance, and you said it too, that 69 to 60. Right, yeah, that's how they're bending the baseline.
Yes, but the problem he has is that because he claimed to be using 7/6R, it means not only is he bending the baseline, but it also means that he can't have 60 nautical miles, or 60 statute miles per degree, or 69, statute miles per degree. With 7/6R, the least you're going to have is 80.5 statute miles per degree, which completely throws all that. There is he'd have to then, because he contradicts himself, because if he's using 7/6R, he can't use the Haversine formula and use 3959 if he's just measured on a 7/6R sphere, which he didn't, because you can't do it because it doesn't matter because it's still a curved baseline, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, that is the problem, that they're using a curved baseline. But what I'm saying is he used a flat baseline up to that point. And that is the point where he introduced the curved baseline. I want to know if he's cognitively aware of that is the point at which he bends his baseline or not.
None of this matters.
He didn't. He never bent his baseline.
None of this matters. You know why? Sorry. Nathan, can you show the year of the sex? Can you show the year of the Sexton slide, please?
Yeah, just give me a sec. Yep.
All right. Sexton is an angle measuring device. No one disagrees. An angle is two straight lines meeting at a common point called a vertex. Nobody disagrees. This is an image of a horizon at sea. You see the 90, you see the protractor, you see the section, you need the straight angle of 180. There is no tangent plane. That's just in their drawings. This is what's happening. They say this is at the center of the Earth when it's really at the surface. And then they draw a circle and take a tangent plane and say, we're measuring from here, when all their books say, no, you're measuring from the center. So you see, they got a few problems. The measurement's never done from the surface. The measurement on all the books are derived from the center of the Earth. Well, what's the center of the Earth to them? Well, it's an equatorial plane, a flat surface that you're seeing on the image here, which is actually where we are. They superimpose this to the center, and then they make a circle, and then they say, now get a tangent plane and let sunlight come in parallel, and we could have a corresponding angle match as long as we carry a suitcase with a tangent plane that can fold out whenever we want to do it. But in reality, you're just doing it over a flat plane all the time. The rest of this stuff is nonsense.
Yeah, the problem that what people don't understand, when they get to the point of a circle of equal altitude, that's when they have to use a curved radius, which means that the surface, the amount of land, now curved radii do not exist in reality, right? Number one. Number two, even within that nonsense, right, the amount of land within one circle of equal altitude placed onto the surface, let's say that circle placed onto the surface of a sphere, right? What will happen is the land on the inside the circle will not match the circle. So you don't have matching distances, matching coordinates, because it's not going to match. None of it actually matches. That's the problem. Because to put a circle of equal altitude, especially with some of the bigger ones, onto the sphere, means or even some of the small ones, you've got to change the amount of surface area within the circle of equal altitude. When you put that onto a sphere, depending on the size of the circle, you will change the ratio of amount of surface area within that circle will change, because then you go from having a flat circle, horizontal circle, to having a dome, which changes the whole. Like, they think they can just throw that out there and get away with it. No, mathematically the two don't match, and they can't match. You've measured a radius for a circle of equal altitude, and then you're making the circle smaller.
Brian, what you're pointing out is one of 100, if not more, ways to destroy their lie. No doubt what you say is true. But they are telling us it needs to be subtracted from what number?
90?
90.
It's over right there. Unless 90 means curved, unless 90 doesn't mean right angle anymore, it's over right there. We have shown what the circle of equal altitude is. And if you got more than 1, 2, 3 stars, we even have pictures of it. Let me just put one up real quick here. And they describe it the way it actually is done. Okay, it's on there. So here's, by measuring the angles to 3 known stars, an observer knows its location. Do you see any curved surface here, or do you see 3 90s?
3 90s.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter if they want to say, I could put a circle of equal altitude on the globe. They show pictures of it, but this is how it has to happen. You can't do this and have the distances match. It's another part of the lie that you're addressing, and I'm glad you do and have, because the chord length won't be the same as the arc length. And no one's going to go through the chord anyway. No one is aiming their sextant with some infrared horizon mirror or some kind of technology that goes through the surface of the ocean. You're aiming at the one horizon that we got. Horizontal, elevation angle. That year of the sextant picture says it all. This is the flat plane, the only flat plane, and this is an elevation angle. Just because they do drawings and say, there's one of these at the center, there's one of these at the sensible horizon, there's one of these at the geodetic horizon, it doesn't matter. There's only one of these, and it's our Earth that we live on.
Yeah, but I still must make the point that you cannot have a circle of equal altitude on the globe. They will not translate. You can't translate a circle with a distance in between on a surface onto the globe. It doesn't work. And I just want the audience to know that there is an argument on the way coming from us that we haven't spoke about publicly. That's going to absolutely destroy the globe concerning the circles of equal altitude.
I'm not disagreeing with you. You know how back and forth you and I love to go. I want 1 million knives going into this lie that has been put upon humanity. I want every argument, but go to the basic. Why is it impossible to live on the globe? Because you can't get a 90. It's over right there. Now let's have fun and destroy all the ways they try to dance around it. I'm okay with that.
Well, I can't remember who it was that was saying that it's good to have. I think it was Adam. Hello, Adam, by the way. Was it Adam that just joined? I'm losing track of who's just joined. I think it was Adam. He was saying it's good to have your your claims challenged because it strengthens them. So, for example, when McToon comes along and says, how do you use these as flat Earth elevation angle measurements on a flat Earth? We point out that they're flat Earth elevation angle measurements. So it strengthens the argument.
I thought I said that.
You did.
Now, or Arwen probably said it 10 years ago.
Well, Brian said it a couple of weeks ago, most importantly, but
Darn it, I couldn't get my finger on a mute button fast enough to say that, Nathan. Yeah, it was Brian.
I've got one more housekeeping question. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Only in the vacuum of space.
Sorry, that took a few seconds to process. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core, kind of suggestive, then very specific, at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth? Response, in the vacuum of space, did you say?
Well, you didn't do the vacuum of space either, but that's why I said that.
Oh, that's why it didn't make sense, because it was pointing out that we had one more housekeeping question than the one more I just gave. Any evidence that you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon?
You'd have a problem, then you'd probably have to change the definition of antecedent and gas pressure. That would be a problem.
Yeah, and all those claims that relies on light being a wave propagating through the vacuum of space to reach the Earth, they're in real trouble with that one.
At least we got all the way through the housekeeping questions. With only 10 minutes to spare on a live show. No audio issues, no hassle. Oh, I'm really pleased. Today's going well. And it's a Friday, so everyone's in a good mood. Not that I normally mention the day, but, you know, that's how it is. Do I tempt fate by pointing out that there'll be a short after show?
Probably.
And my intention is to only have a short after show today, because for the last, basically, for all of this week, I've suggested that because I'm exhausted and doing loads and loads of editing work, but there's lots of material to edit, so, you know, that's good. But then it ends up turning into a 6-hour show. Or a 4-hour show.
6 more hours.
Because it's something new.
It seems like
Go on.
I was just going to say, it seems like the people with the arguments to bear usually wait until the after show to bring them forth. I don't know why.
Which is fine. You know, people don't necessarily want to get involved on a live show because at least you can prepare a bit of a response knowing that it's only going to go out to my members that day and then there's going to be a good 2 or 3 days before it reaches the public. So I think that maybe gives people a little bit of a buffer to think, if I get creamed here, I can come up with my excuses for a couple of days, maybe even put out a rebuttal video before the devastating video comes out.
So it might be like a conscious thing that they're doing instead of just sitting in the, because there's the way your Discord's set up is, that you have the live show queue and then you have the after show queue, and a lot of people sit in the after show queue and talk amongst themselves. I thought it was because of that mixing of the two groups that usually the arguments sprung from.
Maybe. I mean, I'm more than happy for the live show to always be as consistently educational as it is, without the necessary requirement for people to chant through what you're trying to put across to an audience. And based on the comments alone, people are grateful for it. They want good information in the live show. And because everybody's warmed up in the pre-show, it tends to be the case with, especially housekeeping being part of the show, that it's hyper-specific, hyper-focused, information-dense, every single live show. That's how it should be. Now, if the fundies were inclined to come in during the live show, they might actually have more effect because we'd have less consistency because they're trying to challenge it. Therefore, you might not necessarily, consider 3, maybe a bit less years ago, people trying to argue against axial rotation. That could be an hour-long discussion. If you chew up an entire live show just arguing about axial rotation, you haven't gone through all the housekeeping questions, which is the main reason they're there, just in case that happens. You know, you want to rattle through them so that at the very least people get to hear them. And then you get into some fundy chanting through you about his belief in non-rotation rotation that you wouldn't expect to see because you and your reference frames are ruined or whatever they've got to present. Yes, Nathan, I agree. Well, it's good to know we're all on the same page.
Sorry, I was thinking about what you said. Sorry.
Nobody's claiming a wave.
Yeah, that's what we got yesterday.
What if they knock 3 times?
Yeah, that's what we got yesterday. So if you're a member, you can check those out. I've trimmed them out so you don't necessarily have to watch all 4 hours of yesterday's after show to get the main chunks of information. Obviously, having been there, recording it and saying it, I knew pretty much where they were to go to them today and trim them out. One of them I did actually release to the public, which is just a shorts video describing the difference between acquiring a wavelength as a mathematical derivation versus a wave that you'd actually see in a photograph when there's nothing diffracting. So that was 40 seconds of clip that's gone out, but the other 4, I think, videos that are currently members only will go out over the weekend. So as it's live now, over the next couple of days, in the slots that I typically occupy with either an after show or a live show, but on a Saturday and Sunday, that's when those clips will come out for the general public. But if you're a member, you can see them now. They're all published.
Well, I think people, it would be worth someone watching that whole show, because that where you showed that a phenomenon that Lite is doing is not the same thing. You know, when you pointed out that the deriving the wave function from the particle distribution.
Sure, but that was a 17-minute chunk that you're describing. And yes, I did get that in its entirety. I say it's 17 minutes. It was edited down to 17 minutes, which is really what you want ideally, rather than saying to get the notion that you're describing, which I've got in a video called the end of the ether wave. That, as I say, will come out over the weekend. But that is a condensed version of what you're saying it would be worthwhile watching the entire 4 hours for. Well, that's been condensed down to 17 minutes and will be released over the weekend under the title End of the Ether Wave.
I can't wait for these shows to come back on and listen to them. And I get a hard time from my wife. But they're great when you re-listen to the whole entire show. I like the short you cut out in the clips, but when you put up the whole show, it's beautiful.
What's you got to object to? You sitting around 4 hours listening to a show that you've taken part in recording. What's the issue?
You don't understand. I got to hear it back. There's little things I miss.
Yeah, it sounds like bad news to me, Neil. You should keep your wife sweet.
She doesn't want you to have homework from school, Neil. Just don't bring any homework home.
That's hard sometimes. When, like, we went out to eat last night and I got the show on. Everybody's eating at a restaurant and I got the show in one ear and a conversation in the other ear, but I'm not hearing what they're saying because I'm listening to the show. So maybe I should step back a little bit on the re-ups.
Well, listening back to the shows is where, like, I hear most of the concessions, you know, like.
Agreed.
Like, you're in the heat of the moment, a lot of times it's not heard the point where they, you know, give up their position.
Like with it the other day. Can you play that one again, Nathan?
You mean,
I haven't got it queued up. Sorry, Neil.
You mean when an ether believer is knocking ether?
That's another title of one of the videos that will come out over the weekend. Is that why you've said that?
Yeah. Okay,
so one of the shorter videos, which will come out over the weekend, although it is available to members now, is called The Ether Knocking Shop, which is Sinclair snatching his own wig off, basically saying, well, if you knock on a door, I can derive that into a probability distribution, aka a wave function, but it's not really a wave. You're like, what, like a single quantized chunk of light hitting a photographic sensor can't be derived into a wave because it isn't one. Yeah, that's exactly our point. Well done snatching your own wig off there, Sinclair. But that's coming out again over the weekend under the title The Ether Knocking Shop.
Huey always said, keep letting them talk. That goes for both sides.
Yeah, just let them open their incoherent pie holes is the actual just words he says.
I was trying to keep it nice.
Yeah, we're all guilty of it, though. You know, the criticisms we'll get, regardless of who we're taking apart, is, you're not letting them bullshit you enough when you cut them off and say, no, stop, that's incorrect. Now let me correct you. Well, the people who are on the side of the person that you're opposing obviously want to hear them waffle their way through their bullshit they've bought.
I love that you do that. Don't let them get it out.
That kind of works both ways. The society is programmed, as we know, to make fun of flat earthers, and conspiracy theorists is used a lot. And so when a friendship of so many years, and I think we've all experienced this, has existed, and then you go to that person and say, hey, I've been looking into something. I want your eyes on it, your ears. Let's work this thing out. Will you join me in this research? What is it? Well, it's this thing that's going around that excuse me, that the Earth may actually be flat. Oh, you're not one of them, are you? Don't even come around me. I don't want to talk to you anymore. What the heck? Okay, so what happens is when people are programmed, they don't want to hear you go explain on something that they've been programmed to avoid, or realize maybe there's some fear involved to finding out something. So that goes both ways when someone cuts you off and doesn't want to hear things, not just this side.
And with that, I'm going to say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, though, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. Another huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, joined as a member, and all that good stuff. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on an after show. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video. Shout out to Retro Bill for smashing the super chat right at the end of the live show. He says, great week at FED. Stay tuned if you're watching on an after show.